WrestleMania 41 will go down as one of the WrestleManias of all time. Night 2 was an absolute masterclass in what a WrestleMania card should look like, but suffered from a lackluster ending, while the night before was the complete opposite, with an underwhelming undercard that ended with a bang in the main event. I'll be breaking down each night's card, what I thought about the result and the match itself, and where I think each championship and program will be headed. Let's start off with Night 1. WrestleMania 41 kicked off with the World Heavyweight Championship match as Gunther looked to defend his title against the red-hot Jey Uso. I mentioned in my predictions video that this one took me quite a while to get into, but by the time the bell rang, I was hooked. And I'm glad to say that this match didn't disappoint for the most part. I thought that for a Jey Uso match, this was probably Jey's best match on a wrestling scale, probably ever. For Gunther, I can name at least a dozen other matches that I prefer from his selection pool, but the overall story was a good one. Mind you, this story was strikingly similar to the one told at WrestleMania 40 between Gunther and Sami Zayn, but it's a damn good story regardless. There's probably going to be a lot of debate for the finish of this match, as Jey Uso made Gunther tap out immediately after a barrage of splashes and putting him into the sleeper hold. I do admit that Gunther did look like a bit of a chump by tapping out so quickly, but the way the match went and the story that came along with it, it made sense. Mind you, I did have Gunther winning in my predictions video, but with Jey Uso winning now, I'm curious to see where they go with his championship program. And more importantly, where does Gunther go from here? After WrestleMania 40, when he lost the Intercontinental Championship to Sami Zayn, there was a step for him to go up, but now after losing the World Heavyweight Championship, where the hell does he go from here? Let me know in the comments down below where you think Gunther will be headed, and what you think of Jey Uso's win. Next up was the WWE Raw Tag Team Championship match between the champions, the War Raiders, versus the challengers, the New Day. I'll be perfectly honest with you, I legitimately fell asleep during this match. I'm not lying. I crashed and had to be woken up by my wife after the match was already over. The last thing I saw was the bell ringing, and by the time I opened up my eyes, the New Day were running up the ramp with the tag team titles in hand. Now, I did end up going back and watching this match from start to finish, and I do have to admit it was a good match, but it was a good match for Monday Night Raw standards, and I do think that this could have served better on the Raw after WrestleMania rather than on the WrestleMania card. And given the fact that the triple threat TLC match on SmackDown, which is off the WrestleMania card entirely, and they're saving it for SmackDown after WrestleMania, I thought that that could have had a better place on this year's WrestleMania card over this one. And that's no shade between both the War Raiders and the New Day. I think they have a lot of chemistry together, and they're both gifted tag teams. It's just one of those matches that would have been best served on Raw. I'm happy for the New Day as Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods continue to build up their tag team Hall of Fame career with another run here. But yeah, this one just didn't feel like a WrestleMania caliber match, especially when you consider what was left off the show. Following that was the Jade Cargill versus Naomi match, a match that I said had one of the best builds going into WrestleMania. Right off the bat, we had some excitement as Naomi came out to a brand new theme song to match with her new vibe, and thank God Def Rebel didn't mess it up because this one was actually quite a banger. I think that the new entrance and theme set the tone really well for the start of the match, and Jade Cargill's entrance was pretty cool too. The match was exactly what it needed to be, with both women getting in some incredible offense during their 9 minutes in a WrestleMania ring, and they never disappointed. I did predict Naomi would carry most of the workload during the match, and she did just that, but I think this is easily Jade Cargill's best performance in a singles match. Not only did she hang with Naomi, she kept up with her at every step. There was also some brilliant spots with a second rope bulldog by Naomi and this unbelievable move from Jade where she had Naomi in an electric chair drop position and switched up to a sit-down powerbomb. Jade Cargill does go on to win this match, which is not what I had in my predictions, so I'm curious to know where they go from here for both women. I'm probably expecting this to not blow over with just one match, and there will be a rematch somewhere down the line, so don't expect this program to end anytime soon. The fourth match of the night was the WWE United States title match between the champion LA Knight versus the challenger Jacob Fatu. Going into this match, I had a really good feeling that this one was going to leave a lasting impression and have us talking for it for a very long time. The one thing I was really hoping that we wouldn't see would be a Jacob Fatu squash match, as I think LA Knight is so much better than just a squash match, and thankfully we didn't get that. We actually got a really good match out of the two. This match was fantastic from start to finish, as both LA Knight and Jacob Fatu looked incredible throughout, and had their fair share of offense at different points in the match. At the same time, Jacob still looked incredibly beast-like and also looked like $1,000,000, without sacrificing any of LA Knight's momentum. Whoever was the agent in charge of constructing this match, everyone else needs to pay attention because this one was scripted perfectly from start to finish. I absolutely loved the finish to this match, whether it was the BFT reversal off the moonsault or Jacob Fatu looking like a destructive force and hitting a double moonsault to put LA Knight away. This is what you want from a mid-card championship match at WrestleMania, and with Jacob Fatu winning, I'm curious to know where they go with him as champion and how the mid-card division looks with Jacob Fatu as its champion. At the same time, I wonder where LA Knight goes from here. I don't anticipate that he's going to let this loss slide and he'll try to challenge for the US title again. But in a losing manner, if he doesn't regain that US championship, where does he go? Because there is no limbo between the mid-card division and the main event. Let me know in the comments down below where you think LA Knight ends up and where you want him to go. Next up was the Rey Fenix versus El Grande Americano match, the battle over the pride of the luchador wrestling style. Unfortunately, Rey Mysterio couldn't compete in this match as he was injured the night before on SmackDown. And to this day, I still don't understand why 24 hours before the big show, you have them wrestling in a match on SmackDown in a meaningless match. But hey, I'm not a booker, I'm just a guy running a YouTube channel. Like the New Day vs. War Raiders match, this one felt more like a glorified Monday Night Raw match, and I think it could have been best served for the Raw after WrestleMania. And unlike the War Raiders New Day, this one actually had an out as Rey Mysterio was injured and was forced to be replaced, and they could have just scratched it all together. What I will say is that I'm really happy for Rey Fenix getting his debut at WrestleMania. It's a really cool moment for him, and it's something that he'll never forget. And on top of that, we got this over-the-top El Grande Americano entrance where he had a mariachi band come out with American-made masks and play him out to his theme song, which I found was ridiculously over-the-top, but kind of funny at the same time. I call this match for having the potential to be solid, as both El Grande Americano and Rey Fenix have that wrestling ability, and for the most part, they delivered in a good match. But again, it could have been saved for Monday Night Raw and not for WrestleMania. I do have to point out some incredible spots, such as that 450 senton that El Grande Americano landed. It was purely ridiculous, and I didn't expect that from him. And Rey Fenix looked incredible in his WrestleMania debut, so at the end of the day, you got two solid performances from both of them. The finish to the match was, it was exactly what you saw on Monday Night Raw. It was nothing special or different, so again, I question why this match was on the card and why it stayed on after Rey Mysterio got injured. But with El Grande Americano's win, the program does get extended, so we're in for more of this, which I don't really care much for it. I'm not really invested into the program, so the sooner it ends, the better. The match before the Night 1 main event was the WWE Women's Championship match between the champion, Tiffany Stratton, and the challenger, Charlotte Flair. I think it's safe to say that when Charlotte Flair won the 2025 Royal Rumble, it was a good bet that her opponent would be Tiffany Stratton, and for good reason. This was, on paper, a dream match that featured an icon that already had a Hall of Fame career, coming back from injury to face the future of the women's division in Tiffany Stratton. Where do you want to begin? The chemistry between Tiffany and Charlotte was not only abysmal from the very start, it was completely absent. Several miscues while running the ropes, lots of sloppy reversals and counters, and I swear at times, these two got caught up in their hair extensions that it was tough to tell what the hell they were attempting to do. And the stiff shots during the match were so uncomfortable to watch. I think I counted at least 2 stiff kicks that Charlotte gave to Tiffany, one of which bloodied her mouth. I wanted this match to be good. I really did. I think that Charlotte is one of the best women's wrestlers in WWE history and continues to impress every time she enters the ring. And Tiffany Stratton is just scratching the surface as the women's champion and future of the division. But unfortunately, we just got a stinker out of the both of them. For the two of them to come together and put on a disaster of a match, it was so extremely disappointing. I know Ric Flair said that this match was the best of the night, and as a fellow father, I praise him for standing on business for his child, but holy hell, this match wasn't just the worst match of the night. It might be one of the worst WrestleMania matches I've ever witnessed. On to the moment that I think we were all waiting for, the triple threat main event of Night 1, as CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns clashed in a battle of titans. Before the match even began, we got some all-time great WrestleMania entrances. Seth Rollins came out in all black with a flamethrower, only to ditch the first wardrobe and switch to a holier-than-thou all-white attire. Roman Reigns didn't do anything too special other than provide maximum aura, but I did find it touching to see screen panels showcasing all the Samoans that were part of WWE history. And then CM Punk's turn to shine started with a beautiful montage to kill switch engages this fire. Then Punk came out to living color playing Cult of Personality live. This match was just a masterclass of what a triple threat should be. All three men hate each other, all three men want to prove something, and at the end of the day, none of them could get comfortable enough to get the upper hand on one of them because there would always be that third member lurking around the corner and willing to jump them at any given moment. I absolutely loved this match from start to finish, every second of it, to the point where when it ended, I looked down at my watch and I didn't realize that 32 minutes had passed by. It was that good. It felt like a beautiful story unraveling before my eyes, and I can't help but glaze this match enough. On a wrestling level, on an entertainment level, hell, on even an emotional level, this match just hit every note for me. By far the most intense moment of the match outside the finish was the powerbomb setup on the outside, as Rollins attempted to egg Roman on to powerbomb Punk through one of the two announce tables. I have to admit, Roman played this off beautifully, showing the struggle of trusting someone who has backstabbed him over and over again. I love the fake out from Roman, going in for that setup and then knocking down Rollins, and then hitting two power bombs on Punk and Rollins through both announce tables. Now let's talk about the finish, because oh boy did Paul Heyman throw us for a loop. Now I will admit I was expecting Paul Heyman to turn on Punk, but I never in a million years saw him doing the same to Roman Reigns. But if you look back at the several weeks on both Raw and SmackDown, you can notice that there was a change in Paul Heyman's expression towards both Roman and Punk, and even towards Rollins. It definitely seemed like there was that change in attitude, and something was definitely brewing. Now for those who follow the channel and have come back to visit, you'll know that I put out a video about a week ago on how Rollins was the bad guy in this feud, and it's looking pretty good now. This match and the finish was just the perfect way to end night one, and I would say outside of the LA Knight Jacob Fatu match, this was really one of the only saving graces of night one. The rest of it just was so underwhelming. All that I can say is going into the next couple of weeks, I'm really excited to see where some of these programs go. Night 2 of WrestleMania 41 kicked off with the Women's World Heavyweight Championship match as Io Sky defended her title against both Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair in a triple threat match. And I'll just give you a spoiler warning ahead of what I thought about this match. This wasn't just the greatest women's match in WrestleMania history for me. This was one of the greatest opening matches to any WrestleMania ever. Unlike the Jey Uso versus Gunther match, which I went in with little expectation and they exceeded them, I had high expectations of this match going into it, and they were exceeded even further past that. I think about 5 minutes into the match, my immediate thought was, this has been better than anything from night one outside of the main event. All three wrestlers in this one came to play, and they left absolutely nothing left in the tank by the time the match was over. At several different points throughout, Rhea had her time to shine. Bianca got in her offense. Io looked like a fighting champion that wasn't backing down from either one of her opponents. Unlike the Charlotte Flair-Tiffany Stratton match, this one was so fast-paced, had so many damn near falls, and was exciting from start to finish that a lot of the near falls caught me off guard, and at certain points I had no idea who was coming out as champion. I did go into this match thinking that Bianca Belair would win, and I felt extremely confident in saying that, but Io Sky does end up winning and retaining the World Championship, so at the end of the day, it was the right decision in my opinion. I will say that in no way do I think this program is over. There's no way that both Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair will be sidelined and out of the main event picture, and I do envision that both of them will clash to be the number one contender for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. I do see the possibility for a backlash match between the two, but again, this program is nowhere near being close to being over. What I will say is that for a Night 2 opener, this match was absolutely fantastic, and I hope that this is not the last we see from the three of them. Next up was the Sin City Street Fight between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, which was a match I was least excited to see on either night's card. After watching this match, I can safely say that I'm a big dumb idiot and this match was awesome. Damian Priest came out to carry King of Slayer playing him out, which was so damn cool. And Drew did a pose on some props, I guess? I don't know. That was weird, but then the bell rang and for almost 14 minutes, I just sat back and enjoyed the mayhem. This match was just two big dudes colliding and using everything they could get their hands on to destroy one another. We also got a fun spot involving Drew tweeting out a picture of him next to a beaten down Damian, similar to his antics at WrestleMania 40, which got a good laugh out of me. And I think the finish was just fantastic as Damian went through not one but two tables and was eventually set up for a Claymore in the corner onto a chair. I thought that spot looked fantastic, and I thought that Drew being the winner was the right choice here. Now, with the heel going over, I don't envision this program being over yet. I do see a follow-up match, maybe at Backlash or even past that. I don't think that this one is nearly over just yet, but I am interested in knowing where both Damian and Drew go after this program is over. Let me know in the comments down below where you think both Damian and Drew go after they're done with each other. Third match of night 2 was the highly anticipated Fatal 4-Way match for the Intercontinental Championship, featuring the champion Bron Breakker and the challengers Penta, Dominik Mysterio, and Finn Balor. Like his brother, Penta was entering his first WrestleMania ever, and the same could be said for Bron Breakker, who entered WrestleMania 41 as a champion. The interesting detail going to this one was that there wasn't just one, but 2 Judgment Day members, which left a lot of intrigue for me as I didn't know whether they would coincide with one another or eventually turn on each other. For a match that just surpassed 10 minutes, I don't think you could ask for more from all 4 men. Bron looked absolutely jacked and insane during this one, plowing through anyone that got in his way, and I felt that Penta looked good and never appeared phased or overwhelmed by the big stage. Of course, I was heavily focused on the story that Finn and Dom were telling, and we eventually even see Carlito come out to help them both, which eventually led to him getting speared into and through one of the 2 announce tables. There were certain points in this match where there were so many moving parts that it felt like there was chaos at every turn and every second of it. Now, I think the expectation going into this match, especially when you consider it's a Fatal 4-Way, was that we would see a new champion crowned, and the odds-on favorite was, strangely enough, Dominik Mysterio, and even more strangely enough, that's exactly what happened. I have to admit, I absolutely love the finish to this match. I think that it was so brilliant to see Dominik Mysterio hit that frog splash on Finn Balor, who was looking like he was mere seconds away from capturing the Intercontinental Championship himself, only for Dom to hit that frog splash onto him and steal the win, becoming the new Intercontinental Champion. Now, the even stranger thing, even more strange than Dominik Mysterio becoming the Intercontinental Champion, is that the fans were cheering him. And I don't just mean they were cheering a new champion being crowned, they were actively cheering for Dominik Mysterio throughout the match. Anytime that he got some offense in on Finn or anybody else in the match, the crowd was coming alive. And if I'm being honest, I'm so proud and happy for Dom. We saw him grow up right before our very own eyes, seeing him go from a baggy clothes wearing kid with a visor to now this manly man of a man with a stash and a mullet, and now he's rocking the Intercontinental Champion, so I couldn't be more happy for him. The midway point of night 2 featured Randy Orton coming out to issue his open challenge to whoever wanted to take on the Viper in his 20th WrestleMania appearance. Would it be someone on the active roster on SmackDown? Maybe a returning Rusev or Aleister Black? Maybe even a celebrity? Well, the answer was none of the above because it ended up being Joe Hendry. In 2025, on the WrestleMania stage, we have the TNA World Heavyweight Champion coming out to one of the biggest pops of the night, and it was absolutely incredible. I also want to say a nice touch in this match was Orton's attire, which paid homage to his first ring gear back when he had shaggy hair and way fewer tattoos on his arms. As for the match, it was a little fun showcase for Joe Hendry, who lasted only 3 minutes before he ate an RKO, and I know a lot of people are going to be upset with the TNA World Heavyweight Champion being made to look a little bit like a chump. For a showcase match where he got that spotlight on the WrestleMania stage, you can't feel anything but happy for him. This was such a big deal that I hope this isn't the last time we see Joe Hendry at WrestleMania or at any other WWE event, and judging by what Paul Levesque said in the post-media scrum, it may not be the last time. It was quick, it was fun, but like I said, hopefully it's not the last time we see Joe Hendry in the WWE. Following that was the big match between the phenomenal one AJ Styles taking on Logan Paul in a match that I felt had an AJ Styles win written all over it. Sadly, I was wrong. What I am happy to say is that this match ended up being pretty good and both men got the time that they needed to show off their athleticism. Logan Paul definitely benefits from being in a match with someone as talented as AJ Styles, which, if you haven't been paying attention, the WWE has done an excellent job at insulating Logan with opponents that not only carry matches, but make their opponents look good. While the WWE does set up Logan Paul for success by pairing him up with highly talented stars, it would be wrong of me not to recognize that Logan Paul is still holding up his end of the bargain, otherwise these matches wouldn't look nearly as good. So I do have to give him kudos for playing his part in these matches. And the same can be said for this match against AJ Styles. I think that for the time that was allotted, which was much longer than we would normally expect from a Logan Paul match, and for the amount of wrestling he had to perform in this match, this was unlike any other Logan Paul match we've ever seen. As annoying as he may be, both inside and outside of the ring, I do have to give him credit here for this match. With that said, this was the weakest match of night 2, which unfortunately has to be said for an AJ Styles match, which I hate doing. Now, the finish was really interesting because they did have that lackey of Logan Paul come out with a pair of brass knucks, but then for some reason, Karrion Kross was by ringside and he stopped that lackey before trying to hand the brass knucks to AJ Styles and telling him to use it on Logan Paul. Now, this is playing up that interesting back and forth between Karrion and AJ and whether he's going to turn towards the dark side and go back to the dark days of the dark AJ Styles. In this case, he didn't use the brass knucks, which ended up hurting him. Logan Paul hit the knockout shot and then the pulverizer to win the match. And maybe this sets up something between AJ Styles and Karrion Kross for the future. And who knows, maybe it even sets up an AJ Styles heel turn eventually. With that said, it's really disappointing to see AJ Styles take a loss, especially when you consider the fact he doesn't have many years left. He did say he'd retire at 50, and that's coming up pretty soon, leaving him with only a couple WrestleManias in hand. So I kind of would like to see him win some WrestleManias before it's all said and done and put an end to one of the greatest careers in wrestling history. Before we get to our main event of night 2, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez put their WWE Women's Tag Team titles on the line against Lyra Valkyria and a mystery partner who was filling in for Bayley, who had been injured in storyline and couldn't participate. That partner ended up being a returning Becky Lynch, who I think came to the surprise of nobody, but still got a huge pop from the crowd. On one hand, it's nice to see Becky Lynch back and receiving that kind of reaction from the crowd, but on the other, it's tough to see Bayley not get her opportunity at WrestleMania. I feel absolutely gutted for her that she went from participating in this major gauntlet match to receive this opportunity, only to be taken out for a returning Becky Lynch. If that decision was made purely to bring back Becky into the picture, it's pretty inexcusable for me. I think Bayley deserves way better than that. The match itself was your standard tag team match where Liv and Raquel isolated Lyra for the majority of the 8 minutes they got, slowly building towards the hot tag for Becky. In the end, this was pretty much just a big showcase to bring Becky back into the swing of things, and it resulted in her and Lyra winning and becoming the new women's tag team champions. This also makes Lyra a 2-belt champion, so it'll be interesting to see how they balance her duties as a champion in 2 divisions, though considering how PLEs are booked these days, I doubt we see her defending both titles in one night. Again, I just feel completely gutted for Bayley, who I think has given her all for the company, and to see her lose her spot at WrestleMania this year just feels so wrong to me. She went from a fantastic WrestleMania 40 match with Io Sky, which I think they tore the house down, and 1 year later she's not only on the WrestleMania card but then pulled off of it in favor of Becky Lynch. It just feels so wrong to me. I'm sure that Bayley herself won't complain about it. She's a trooper and a company person, but plenty of people online have been complaining and will continue to complain about this decision. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about Bayley being pulled in favor of Becky and what you thought about the match itself. And that finally brings us to the main event of night 2. Cody Rhodes defends the undisputed WWE Championship against John Cena. Would Cody Rhodes continue to add on to his year-long reign as undisputed WWE Champion, or would John Cena capture his 17th World Championship, surpassing the legendary Ric Flair? Well, we got our answer. Before I get into this match, I do have to point out the irony with how night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania 41 unfolded, with night 1 starting off quite underwhelming with a few strong points here and there, but being carried mostly by the main event, and then night 2 having just an amazing match card from start to finish, and then the main event came and it ended in kind of a wet fart. Now, I will say the match itself between John Cena and Cody Rhodes was fine. We had John Cena carrying most of the match, which is something that we haven't really seen much of during his entire career. He served as the babyface of the company, which tends to lean him into a role of being beaten down for the majority of the match, with the heel taking control and guiding him through until he fires off that comeback, fires off his 5 moves of doom, and ends up winning because Cena wins LOL. But in this case, he's playing the heel, so he's the one controlling the entirety of the match, which was definitely a different feel for me, but I felt like he did kind of a good job with this. I actually find it funny because for a guy that said he wanted to ruin wrestling, he actually put on quite a good wrestling match. But then we got to the finish of the match, and that's where I realized he really is trying to ruin wrestling. Now, I will say this, when the ref bump came, I fully expected everything to go bonkers crazy like we saw in WrestleMania 40. And when it started off, Travis Scott came out, and I was like, okay, here we go. We're getting something exciting. We're getting something fresh. We're going to get Rock, we're going to get Jey Uso, maybe we're going to get a whole bunch of people coming out and wreaking havoc and causing a whole bunch of mayhem, and it doesn't even matter who's going to win. It could be Cody retaining, it could be John Cena getting his 17th title. As long as there was chaos, this was going to be such a fun finish. And we got Travis Scott, and that was literally it. Instead of Travis Scott playing a piece of the puzzle to why John Cena becomes the new undisputed WWE champion, he became the driving force as to how John Cena won the match and defeated Cody Rhodes. Now let that sink in for a second. There was no Rock. There was no anybody else other than Travis Scott. Travis Scott came in, caused the distraction, allowed Cena to get the upper hand, and that was it. The match was over. WrestleMania 41 ends with John Cena celebrating and Travis Scott holding his arm in the air. I cannot understate this enough when I say that this finish was so underwhelming. It left a giant stain in what I felt was an otherwise amazing night of wrestling. Instead of going home like we did in night one with full of adrenaline and full of great memories with the heel turn and with Paul Heyman turning on both Punk and Roman, we got Travis Scott and John Cena celebrating, and I don't know how to feel about that. It wasn't exciting to me whatsoever. It felt like there was a lot more that was going to happen. We got the credits coming out, and I was immediately thinking that it was a false finish. The credits would go away, and then we would have something else happening. But then the screen went black, the Netflix logo came up, and that was it. So again, it's just one of those underwhelming moments where you expect so much more to happen. You get Travis Scott, and that's it. Was WrestleMania 41 the worst WrestleMania of all time? Yeah, I don't think so. It definitely wasn't. There's a whole lot of other WrestleManias that are far worse than this. But I will say in the last maybe 5 years, this was the most disappointing one. That's not to say that it was terrible. There were a lot of good points. There were a lot of strong matches, especially in night two. But the disappointment in the main event of night two and the underwhelming card of night one just makes me feel like this was one of the most disappointing cards in the last 5 years. But I am curious to know what you thought of both night one and night two of WrestleMania 41. And if you're just as disappointed as I am, or if you enjoyed most of what you saw. Be sure to leave a comment down below what you thought of it, and I'll be reading and answering to every single one of your messages. Now that does it for me. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like, and if you really liked it, hit the subscribe button and check off that bell to receive all notifications on future videos. As always, this is Sean signing off, reminding you that no matter what you do in life, be yourself, believe in yourself, and above all else, stay persistent.